Let's check back in with Doom: The Dark Ages. As you can see, the numbers on Steam are way down. 31,000 to be exact, all-time peak. That's not good. And yes, I do know it's free on Game Pass. In fact, that is where everyone's playing it. It's just wild to me that this game didn't make a bigger impact. Because other games on Game Pass make an impact. Expedition 33 being the big one. That game made a shitload of money. I think 3 million something sales. They did really good. And I'm glad. That's a great game. And I hope it leads to a revival of turn-based combat, because those are games that I really enjoy, and I'm glad they're kind of getting some recognition now. Maybe we'll finally get a turn-based Final Fantasy game again. Wouldn't that be something? So, as you can see here, 7,000 people playing this game right now with a 24-hour peak of almost 9,000. That's not good. How did this game perform? Well, we now have some numbers. According to Alinea Analytics, this game sold less than 1 million copies. 800,000 to be exact. Now, on Game Pass, that's where the majority of people played it. We actually have that 3 million players now, and here it is. So, you've got 0.2 over on PlayStation, 0.4 over on Steam, and you've got 2.4 million total over on Game Pass. Everybody played it on Game Pass. Now, how that breaks down into good sales for them, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know how they treat stuff with Game Pass versus sales. I'm not sure, but I can tell you this. Every other platform it failed on. I'm actually kind of surprised that the PlayStation number is so low. That's crazy. It sold worse on PlayStation than it did on Steam. Pretty wild, to be honest. So, there it is. Everybody was on Game Pass. 2.2 million, to be exact, over on Game Pass. So, is that a hit? I don't know. I don't know, like I said, how Xbox judges those numbers, how they treat that, sales-wise. The big question I have is how many people bought it for 1 month and then refunded? What's the churn like for Game Pass? How many people just buy it and then dump it? Do you really get your money's worth if that happens? There's a lot of questions I have at Game Pass. But the question I ask all of you is this a success? Is this a hit? Now, Doom on PC, there's a lot of shit around that game, like the forced ray tracing, the DRM. I think a lot of that hurt the PC release. A lot of stupid decisions around the PC release. But I'm going to say, I thought the PlayStation numbers would be higher. And I know that the physical discs, definitely a lot of controversy around that, but a lot of people just download their games nowadays. So, I mean, I don't think that hurt it that bad. I'm sure there's a few people that didn't buy it because of that, but I don't know if that really was a huge factor in this game and its performance. But these are the numbers. So, out of the 3 million players Bethesda bragged about last week, 2.2 million are said to be playing through Xbox Game Pass, which we all kind of figured, right? I mean, the majority of the players for sure were going to play it on Game Pass because of the fact that, you know, it's a part of that platform. But is that a success? We saw the same shit with Ubisoft, and it turns out not a lot of people bought that game. most of the players were consuming it for free over on their little service, which is nowhere near as good as Game Pass. So I would imagine that service saw a ton of churn. Game Pass is actually kind of worth the money. If you are into that, I don't have anything against Game Pass. I just would rather buy the games that I want. I don't like to dip around and play a shitload of games. I like to stick with one game until I finish it, and then I move on to the next one. And I like to take my time with a game. So Game Pass, it's just not really for me. I'd rather just own my game. And I'm not making the argument against it. If you want to have Game Pass, I'm happy for you. But I don't know how much this game cost. I'm going to imagine it was not cheap. It was not cheap. But yeah, the game actually sold less than 800,000 copies. And while that's a commendable number, it's not that impressive considering that this is Doom we're talking about, a AAA game backed by 3 industry giants. Of those 800,000 sales, 200,000 were on PlayStation 5, 200,000 on Xbox, and 400,000 on Steam. The remaining players are said to have accessed the game through Game Pass, effectively paying $12 instead of the $70 U.S. retail to play the game. So that's where we're at. Pretty wild, man. How are they getting these numbers, by the way? And I think that's a fair question because they would have to release these numbers unless they're somehow got some kind of formula where they can figure this shit out. I don't know. Some kind of statistical model, which, maybe they do have. That's their job, to analyze data. I just wonder how they're getting their data. So that's where we're at. Is that a success? I don't think so. In my opinion, I don't think that that's a success. I do think that Game Pass, especially games that they make, do kind of need to make some kind of sales. That's why they release it on all the other platforms. If they really wanted to, they could have kept it completely on Game Pass, but that's not the case. That's why it's on PlayStation and Steam. They're trying to get as much money as they can. And they didn't get very much. Less than 1 million copies. That's wild. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I have a comic book out there. If you would please check it out, there is a link in the description. You can jump in for $17. Cover D is only $17. I think it's a great cover. We also have 3 other covers. I think they're all awesome. So my suggestion would be to buy all 4. But if you only want one, you can jump in for $17 for a 60-plus page square-bound comic. That's a pretty good deal. So let me know what you guys think about all of this. I'd like to hear from you. Also, if you would, please like, subscribe, share the video, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
The year is 1945. World War II rages from the halls of Buckingham Palace to the shores of the Nile River. Even now, the clash between freedom and tyranny is about to boil over. Somewhere in North Africa, 2 American flyboys are soaring high on a reconnaissance mission, searching for clues to a peculiar new obsession with the occult gripping the Nazi high command.